My mother used to work overnight shifts at the hospital, which meant I wouldn't see her until the next morning, likely still in her work attire, in deep slumber. I used to prepare breakfast for her every day so that she would have something nice to eat once she woke up. By nice, I mean whatever a 16-year-old who didn't have home economics class could cook. However, my mother never complained about the breakfast platter of toast, scrambled eggs, and turkey bacon arranged on her bedside table. We would say our goodbyes around 10:15, after which I would gather in front of the television with my dog. I would switch off the lights to enhance the viewing experience. It was during one of these TV sessions that I decided to elevate my experience a bit more by smoking some weed, so I headed to my room situated in a narrow, long corridor on the other side of the house. This side of the house, apart from my room, consisted of an unused guest room and my dad's former office. Since my dad's passing, we didn't have any guests, and so the room became a storage place for all the clothes, paintings, and other unused items I couldn't bear to part with. On reaching my room, I took the bong off my bedside table. It wasn't your average bong, but an artistic, almost sculpture-like piece made entirely out of blue, hand-blown glass inspired by the tumultuous waves of the ocean. A curious feature of it was its ability to glow in the dark when exposed to the sun for a while. Carrying it with me as I made my way through the corridor and down the staircase, I settled back on the couch next to my dog Peppy, who was fast asleep. I began prepping the green sticky plant matter, an oddly named strain I'd gotten from my regular supplier. It was a fresh arrival, and he'd asked if I could test it to provide feedback. Agreed instantly, because who turns down an offer for cheaper weed provided in return for feedback? Inspecting it, I noticed the assortment of colors reflected off its crystals, including unusual hues of red, blue, and pink, which was peculiar. Nonetheless, intrigued more than I was suspicious, I went ahead and filled my pipe. The weed tasted like any other at first, but was then followed by a slight hint of citrus. This was going to make the report back to my supplier interesting. With the Dateline episode playing, and my body starting to feel lighter and almost sinking into the couch cushions, my eyes became dry and heavy. It was soon after that I fell asleep. Waking up after what felt like quite some time, my body was heavy and reluctant to move. The overhead lights were still switched off as I'd left them, and so were the rest downstairs. A sense of fright washed over me as I realized I couldn't budge from my spot. I was paralyzed. With only my eyes and the tips of my fingers and toes moving slightly, I was otherwise completely incapacitated, unable to cry out for help. Beside me, Peppy was still blissfully asleep. I tried reaching for him, but realized the futility of that action. The sound from the television narrator seemed to taunt me, and the previously comfy couch felt cold and rigid. The panic started not only because I was becoming aware of my dire situation, but also because I heard a sound from upstairs. I recognized it as originating from the top of the stairs, an intruder in my house at the top of the staircase leading right down to where I was. The additional sounds, resembling cracked bones in my terrified state, followed by slow, descending footsteps, made my stomach churn and my body writhe internally. Petrified, I focused on the one stair visible from my position on the couch, almost wishing to retreat into it. Appearing at the bottom of the staircase, I noticed a shadow of a hand, followed by a lament, muffled and trapped in my paralyzed state. I realized I was a petrified creature in the face of danger. That shadowy hand started to drum against the wall, breaking the silence. With its arms emergence from the shadow, the rest of the body was exposed, standing tall, about 8 feet high. The figure was gigantic, its limbs as long as its height, and its face with a grin that could have been mistaken for a smile, were it not for the fact there were no teeth visible. Its gums, bleeding and dripping onto my wooden floor, screamed of the immediate danger I was in. My eyes, wide open, witnessed its laugh. It found delight in my helpless attempts to scream, move, or offer any form of resistance. With its arms dangling by its side, beating a vicious rhythm, the creature moved slowly toward me. Its now visible face horrified me, the creature's smile exposing its bleeding gums, its eyes wide and locked with mine. Its nose consisted of only 2 holes. It resembled a human, corrupted by some devilish influence. The creature was close enough to sense the fear radiating off me and witness the dying hope in my eyes. But there was my bong, glowing green in the corner of my eye. Putting all my energy into moving my hand, I managed to grab the bong and started bashing it repeatedly over the creature's head. Instead of red blood, a dark, gooey substance came out. It splashed over everything, including my face, mouth, couch, floor, and walls. Awakening to the comfort of a bed and a pillow, I sighed, thankful for it all being just a nightmare, till I tried moving my hands. Restricted by a pair of handcuffs fastened to the bed's railing and the steady beep of a monitor, I realized I was in a hospital room, drenched in the metallic smell of blood, but red, not black. A stranger's voice from a police officer knocked me out of my stupor. He asked me if I remembered anything from the previous night, which was an absurd query considering the horrific memory of that smiling creature. Images sprawled before me revealed my mother, hardly recognizable, but for her uniform, lying dead in a horribly brutalized state. The realization of what the officers were implying made me scream. Tears filled my eyes. I couldn't stop crying. The confusion, the grief, the anger as I witnessed one of the officers drumming his fingers and breaking into that unforgettable and terrifying smile. I yearned for those rare evenings when my mother, attired in a glamorous gown, would kiss me on the forehead before stepping out for a night with a suitor, her heels click-clacking with every step she took. Those moments were scarce due to her day job at a local nursing home, which demanded 12-hour shifts. This was frequently followed by long nights of drinking, noisy television, and intense quarrels with her children at home. But this evening was different. The quiet solitude of nearly 5 hours was bestowed upon me as the rest of the family was away. In the privacy of my room, with a hidden trove of snacks spread across my bed, and exclusive access to our shared laptop, I was at a loss as to how to capitalize on this opportunity. Should I watch a film, sing along to karaoke tunes on YouTube, or dance to my satisfaction? As a fan of suspense, I opted to watch a horror film in the dark. Not more than 30 minutes into the film, I heard a faint, sinister giggle. Initially, I shrugged it off as a sound effect from the movie, but even after pausing it, the giggling persisted, sending chills down my spine. I stayed still, waiting for something to happen, but nothing did. I cautiously moved, causing the bed frame to squeak under my weight. I thought it might have been one of my siblings or neighbors' children playing pranks on me, but being a 16-year-old girl, I wasn't willing to take any risks. I scoured the room for potential weapons and located a hefty sports trophy amongst the child-safe items belonging to my 6- and 8-year-old roommates. The eerie laughter steadily grew louder and came closer. Now, I had a decision to make. Should I wait to be found or take the matter into my own hands? Holding the trophy tightly, I decided to wait it out. The laughter became more intense and jubilant. It reminded me of a child laughing with adult-like intensity. Then heard the sound of chairs being moved around, followed by a moist noise that I couldn't immediately identify. Whoever was in my kitchen was creating quite a racket, perhaps due to some peculiar, disturbing obsession with breaking into homes and slaughtering creatures. All through this, the chilling laughter continued. I was petrified, conscious of the fact that an unknown person was in my kitchen, laughing uncontrollably while preparing something at the counter. My phone was downstairs. I looked at my laptop and wondered if I could contact the police by email. I then thoroughly posted about my situation on social media, and sent an email for help. It was nerve-wracking to wait for 7 minutes till I heard a car pull up in the driveway. It didn't sound like the police. Suddenly, I heard someone run towards the front door, unlock it quickly, and open it. The laughter turned into a raucous, manic roar, followed by a shrill scream that echoed through the neighborhood. The person who screamed quickly fled down the street, and the laugh followed suit, taking a peek from the window. I saw my sister running and screaming to alert everyone around. A man completely naked and covered in a profuse amount of blood was running away, laughing fiercely. A crowd soon formed outside my house, and my sister was reportedly distressed. I did not want to descend and face whatever made her so upset. Police sirens got louder as they approached my house, and soon they stormed inside. Profanity and sounds of nausea filled the air, followed by someone calling out my name. The sight of a female officer at my doorway provided some solace, although her advice to walk downstairs with my eyes closed was an immense challenge. Her grip tightened as we reached the first floor landing, and I couldn't resist taking a look. I saw my mother's severed body parts neatly arranged beside her headless torso on the counter and fainted. I had unknowingly listened to the gruesome kill for 47 minutes. The offender successfully made it back to his room at the nursing home after the act. His laughter persisted as he was restrained, arrested, and imprisoned, and even in court during his sentencing. He possibly laughed even when he was strapped on the execution chair. He will never laugh again. Neither will my mother. I was at the coffee house on my phone when I received a really creepy text. "Hi Carly." It was from an unknown caller. Instantly looked up and scanned the lounge as I felt eyes on me. There was a little kid being carried by his mom, staring. Well, after a moment I realized his gaze wasn't on me. At my half-finished iced coffee. This was an old coffee house, larger than most, which had been converted from a church. The stained glass windows let in fantastic light during the day, and at night, the moonlight created a natural blue rim around the outside, which was beautiful. It was my favorite place to hang out and people watch. Sometimes I'd sit in the corner making up stories about what people did, about where they were going next, or where they had been. This text message needed a reply. Who is this? I know you have a boyfriend, but you are really cute. Well, he was right that I had a boyfriend. And I'm glad he thought I was cute, but there was something instantly off about it. Perhaps that he was texting in lowercase. Who is this? He replied instantly. You don't know me. No crap. Sherlock is what I wanted to respond, but I was more curious. How did you get my number? Because you're pretty. Again, another compliment. But he didn't answer my question. My creep radar was up. And you probably give good kisses. Creepy alert confirmed. It was nearly 9:15 at night, and this place was emptying out, so I felt a little uneasy. But I wanted to know how he knew my name and number. I want to kiss your lips. Jesus. Enough with coming on to me so hard. Didn't he realize he was creepy? I assumed he was a complete stranger, but just wanted to make sure. Have we met? If I testify about myself, my testimony is not valid. John 5:31. Maybe he's trying to be creepy, or perhaps he thinks I'll share his love of the Bible. Peace I leave with you. My peace I give you. John 14:27. I thought of something funny and cute to write back, but then thought it might offend him. But a few moments later I sent it, wanting to see how he'd react. Well, John, I've seen people like you before, but I had to pay admission. Carly 9:15. Come. You're uber cute, and I want you for myself. Nice. So how did you get my number? I'm at the same coffee house as you. I was looking over your shoulder. Wait, this guy had been watching me text Frank, my boyfriend. It made sense. That's how he got my number and knew my name. Who the actual FK does something like that? Ordered you a coffee. I hope I got it right. They should be calling the lovely Carly any minute. I wasn't staying around to receive it. As I walked to my car, I texted back. The lovely Carly thanks you but isn't interested. You can keep it. You just got up and left. Yeah, did he really think now I'd drink his coffee and wait for a physical introduction? It also went through my head that maybe he was the barista, and that upcoming coffee was spiked with something bad. I had no idea who he was, but as I got to my car, I subtly checked to see if anyone was coming out. Do you know how I like my coffee? Just like my women. Ground up, tightly wrapped in a bag, chilling in my freezer. Frank had told me a fun thing to send people once. This was a perfect time. From 9230, the recipient you are sending to has chosen not to receive messages. Miss 2108. Submit yourselves for the Lord's sake to every authority instituted among me. Peter 2:13. He hadn't followed me from the store, but I still had this gut feeling I was being watched. It was then I noticed this car on the other side of the parking lot, which sat in the darkness with its lights off. I could tell someone was in there, and all my intuition told me it was him. As I pulled away, I received another Bible text. I might fill them with horror so they would know that I am the Lord. Ezekiel 20:25. I put the phone on my dashboard and switched it to speech to text so that I could speak to Frank. My eyes were pinned to that car, and right as I was about to turn out of the parking lot, its lights turned on. He was following me, keeping at a distance. He made every turn I made. Frank offered to leave work early and meet me at home, but I decided it wasn't necessary. Could look after myself. As I watched him behind me, he kept his distance. Just the way he drove, I could tell he'd done this before. When I got to my apartment complex, parked quickly, noticing him pull into a guest spot. As I walked to my front door, I pulled out my keys. I noticed him got out of his car. I'd been taught how to use a key as a weapon, so I was prepared, but nervously I still fumbled with the keys and dropped them. As I reached down, I caught him in the distance coming towards me. Quickly I picked them up, got in and locked the door. I live in a townhouse, which is 3 floors. When you go in, stairs lead directly up to my main space. I beelined up the stairs, immediately turning on the lights. But then I thought, with the lights on, from outside he could see me, so I turned them off. I ducked, then crawled over to the kitchen window and saw him in the parking lot. He was staring up. It was like he was staring directly at me. But I figured it was too dark for him to see me, and he was scoping out my building to see if I lived alone. I sat there in the dark for a good 10 minutes. The man outside walked towards my apartment, but disappeared out of view. My heart raced with anticipation as my eyes locked upon the second-floor balcony. Suddenly a hand clasped onto the railing outside. The creepy man was climbing up. I went to a kitchen drawer and grabbed the sharpest knife I had, then sat there, watching him on the balcony. He pressed his forehead against the glass, looking in. I sat there, hoping the darkness would hide me. Both the window and sliding doors were locked. He had no way in without alerting me. I quickly ran up the stairs to my bedroom and texted Frank that the man was on our second-floor balcony. Frank texted back, right away. You left a window open so he could get in, right? It costs a lot to replace broken glass. I didn't. I raced back downstairs and crept to the sliding doors. Silently, I lifted the latch, then rushed back up. I filmed the whole thing on my cell to send to Frank, which he always appreciated. Put on my mask, which I wear for all my kills, and turned up the music loud. Put the shower on, hoping it would inspire the man to enter. As I waited in the bedroom, I was filled with excitement. Simultaneously, I worried that he might not follow through. I pondered whether I'd need to return downstairs to check, which would be scary as he could surprise me at any moment. While standing on the bed, my gaze fixed on the door, the handle turned. I felt exhilarated and prepared the knife. As he entered, I lunged forward and struck him in the neck. I can't recall the song playing, but I moved the blade to the beats in the music. It was a lot of fun. The downside of the entire situation was that this person had a substantial amount of blood, which stained the carpet. I keep intending to lay something down to speed up the cleanup process, but like the fool I am, I keep forgetting. I also can't remember if he pleaded for help. There have been so many of them that they somewhat blend together. It's astonishing how many creeps emerge from the shadows when you're searching for them. The following night, I returned to the coffee house, dressed as attractively as possible, hoping to attract the attention of another. Frank texted me to be cautious. You don't want to develop a caffeine addiction, lol.